Take a close look at this image. Two men, two beards, two uniforms. They look almost identical, don't they? Here's a challenging question. Which one is the King of England, and which one is the Russian Tsar? Take a second. Can you find the difference? The answer will shock you. Not because one of them is misidentified, but because of why they look so similar. This story unfolds the gripping narrative of royal cousins, mixed heritage and European power. It reveals how the ruler of the Russian Empire was far more German and Danish than Russian. Welcome to an investigation into one of history's greatest surprises, the true lineage of Russia's last Tsar. The man on the right is George V, King of the United Kingdom. The man on the left is Nicholas II and Emperor of Russia. They are first cousins. Their mothers were sisters, both daughters of King Christian IX of Denmark. However, here's the even more intriguing aspect. When you look at Nicholas II, the Tsar of Russia, who ruled over 130 million Russians and who wore the Romanov crown, he was only 1.5% Russian by blood. So where did the Russian blood go? How did this happen, and why is it significant? To understand this mystery, we must journey back to 1762, an era that transformed the Romanov family forever. The last true Romanov, Elizabeth Petrovna, the daughter of Peter the Great, was the last direct heir of the Romanov dynasty to rule Russia. She was the last ruler with strong Russian blood. When she died in 1762, the direct Russian lineage of the imperial family ended forever. Who came next? A man named Peter III. But Peter III wasn't really Russian at all. Peter III's birth name was Karl Peter Ulrich of Holstein-Gottorp. He was born in Kiel, Germany. His mother was Anna Petrovna Romanova, the daughter of Peter the Great. But his father was a German duke, Duke Karl Friedrich of Holstein-Gottorp. So Peter III was half Russian, half German. But hold on, even that 50% Russian heritage is debatable. Why? Because Peter the Great's wife, Catherine I, was not Russian either. She was born as Martha Skavronskaya, probably from the Baltic region, maybe Latvian, maybe Estonian, maybe Lithuanian. Nobody knows for certain. Nobody. Now comes the most famous twist in the story. Peter III married a young German princess named Sophia Augusta Frederica of Anhalt-Zerbst. She hailed from a modest German aristocratic family. This German princess traveled to snowy Russia, converted to Orthodox Christianity, and became Catherine Alexeyevna, most commonly known as Catherine the Great. Catherine the Great was one of history's most influential rulers, but she had zero Russian blood. She was 100% German. Catherine the Great and Peter III had a son, Paul I. With a father who was half Russian and a mother who was fully German, Paul I was only about 25% Russian. From this moment forward, Russian emperors started a pattern that would continue for generations. They married European princesses, mostly German. Why did Russian Tsars marry foreign princesses? There were three main reasons. Political alliances. Marriages helped create friendships between countries. Religion. The bride needed to be Christian, allowing conversion to Orthodox Christianity. Status. European princesses had education, manners, and royal training. But there was a problem. The daughters of major European kingdoms didn't want to move to distant, cold Russia. So, Russian Tsars found a solution. They married princesses from small German states. These princesses offered a quality education and royal lineage, and they were willing to change their religion and move to Russia. The German wives, generation by generation. Paul I married Sophia, Maria Dorothea Augusta Louisa of Württemberg, another German princess. Every foreign princess who married a Russian emperor had to change her name. This symbolized their transformation into a Russian identity. After converting to Orthodox Christianity, she became Maria Feodorovna. They had 10 children together. One of their sons later became Emperor Nicholas I. He had only 12.5% Russian heritage. Nicholas I also married Princess Charlotte of Prussia, daughter of the Prussian king. After baptism, she became Alexandra Fyodorovna. They had 7 children, 4 boys and 3 girls. Their son later became Emperor Alexander II. He had roughly 6% Russian lineage, and he followed the family tradition. He married Princess Wilhelmina Marie of Hesse, and by Rhine, also from Germany. In Russia, she was named Maria Alexandrovna. Their son, Emperor Alexander III, had only about 3% Russian blood. But here's where the narrative shifts. Alexander III and Princess Dagmar of Denmark first met at the bedside of Alexander's dying brother, the heir Nikolai. After his brother died, Alexander III married his brother's fiancée, Princess Marie Sophie Frederica Dagmar of Denmark. Finally, a Danish princess. In Russia, she received the name Maria Feodorovna. Unlike most imperial marriages, which were merely political arrangements, Alexander III and Maria Feodorovna were genuinely in love. They remained faithful to one another for nearly 30 years. Their correspondence revealed deep affection and tenderness. The couple named their first son Nikolai in honor of their deceased brother and fiancé. When Nicholas II was born, he inherited 50% Danish lineage from his mother, Princess Dagmar, 48.5% German-Prussian heritage from his father's lineage, only 1.5% Russian blood, and perhaps a hint of Baltic ancestry from Martha Skavronskaya, whose origins remain unclear. Nicholas II married Princess Alex of Hesse and by Rhine. Yes, another German princess. She was Queen Victoria's favorite granddaughter, and the Queen called her Sunny. After her conversion to Orthodox Christianity, she became Alexandra Fyodorovna. Their son, Tsarevich Alexei, had less than 1% Russian blood. The last heir to the Russian throne was barely Russian at all. But here's the real question. Even though Nicholas II had so little Russian blood, did it matter? Russian was his first language. He was brought up in the Russian tradition. He believed in Russian orthodoxy. He loved Russian culture. He considered himself Russian. Blood percentages on a chart don't dictate nationality. It's the culture, language, and identity that shape us. Remember that photograph at the beginning? Let me share something remarkable. George V and Nicholas II were so alike that people often confused them at official gatherings. Identical beard styles, similar eyes, same face shapes, same height and build. When they stood together, they looked like twins. This wasn't an accident. They looked alike because they shared the same grandmother, Queen Victoria, and the same grandfather, King Christian IX of Denmark. Their mothers were indeed sisters, 2 sisters who allied with different empires, one British, the other Russian. One grand royal family. By the beginning of the 20th century, all European royal families were connected by blood. Here's the royal network. King George V of Great Britain, cousin of Nicholas II through their Danish mothers. Kaiser Wilhelm II of Germany, also related to Nicholas II via Queen Victoria. Other European monarchs, nearly all descended from Queen Victoria or King Christian IX. King Christian XIX of Denmark was called the father-in-law of Europe. And Queen Victoria earned the nickname Grandmother of Europe because many of her children and grandchildren married into European royal families. This photo was taken in 1910 at the funeral of British monarch Edward VII, son of Queen Victoria. It is the only photo ever taken of 9 monarchs together. 10 monarchs were expected to attend, but Tsar Nicholas II of Russia could not come. All 10 monarchs are related. In 1914, when World War I started, the rulers of Britain, Russia and Germany were all cousins. George V, Nicholas II and Wilhelm II wrote letters to each other, calling each other Georgie, Nicky and Willie. They have known each other since childhood. They visited each other's courts. They understood each other's languages and cultures. But family connections couldn't stop the war. Cousins fought cousins. Empires fell. Millions died. The Romanov dynasty came to its tragic end in 1918. After the Russian Revolution, Nicholas II, his wife and their children were imprisoned. Nicholas II appealed to relatives, asking them to provide asylum for his family. The British cabinet was willing, but George V intervened, fearing a revolutionary wave and the loss of the English crown. To preserve his dynasty, George sacrificed his cousin and their family. Other European monarchs also feared losing power and causing internal unrest. Despite their blood ties, no one risked providing refuge to the royal family. The Romanov family was executed in 1918. Some historians believe this decision haunted George V for the rest of his life. So, was the last Russian Tsar German or Danish? The answer is both, and it's complicated. Nicholas II was 50% Danish, 48.5% German, and only 1.5% Russian by blood. But in his heart, in his faith, and in his identity, he was Russian. This story shows us something important about history, about family, and about identity. Royal families across Europe were deeply connected, like branches of the same tree. They shared blood, shared culture, and shared power. But they also fought each other in devastating wars. Nationality and identity are not just about genetics. They're about the language you speak, the religion you practice, the culture you love, and the choices you make. Nicholas II identified as Russian not due to blood, but because he was raised in that culture, living and dying as a Russian Tsar.